You're listening to the Founder Series, your source for inspiration and insights into the vast world of entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Nathaniel Johnson, and we interview founders, CEOs, and world changers to get a better grasp of what it truly means to be a founder. Taking preconceived ideas into mind-boggling realities. But there's so much more than a podcast, it's a community. We empower startups with law, accounting, consulting, and more. So tune into the end of this episode to get involved with our partners, resources, and YFS as a whole.
Today, we speak with Michelle Kwon, Head of Operations at Runway. Runway has been a pioneer in leading research in the image and video generation space in the last 5 years, with the three founders of the company having worked on the concept of Runway for the last decade. Currently, the startup is leading the way in developing AI tools for media content creators, with its client base spanning from Fortune 500 companies to Global 2000 companies. Its current focus is on generative AI, with its current flagship product being Gen 2, an AI text-to-video generation model. Michelle sits down with us to discuss her journey in joining Runway at its very early stages and her experience on building a company in a field that is constantly changing and evolving with innovation and advancements.
Without further ado,
I hope I don't disappoint.
I don't think I think you'll be all right.
Okay, that's good to know.
Okay, so we'll get started. We'll get rolling.
I mean, first question to ask off the bat is, kind of coming into Runway, it's an AI industry space. Did you see yourself in AI at a young age? Did you kind of see yourself working in such a big startup? Was that something you're interested in at a young age?
There's a lot to unpack there. The answer was no to all of the above. I thought since I was pretty young that I would go into law, that I would be a lawyer. That's what I thought from a very young age. And I'm grateful for all of the time, internships, classes, failed attempts of not going in that direction because it landed me here. I didn't know anything about tech until more recently. I didn't come from a background or come from a school. I went to Georgetown for undergrad that really emphasized startups or technology. I'm a little bit older than you guys. And that just wasn't something that was as in vogue at the time. And so for a long time, I was focused on going into a very, very corporate path. And over the last several years, I was very fortunate to work at places like Airbnb, and now at Runway that have really helped me to understand what I need in a working environment that make me really happy and successful and that I feel passionate about. And being at a place that has strong technical expertise was something I was looking for prior to joining Runway. When I first got connected to the company over 2.5 years ago, generative AI was not a term that existed. AI as a concept and obviously as in application has been around for a while, but not in really what we're seeing now. But I was bullish on a company that was building something that I knew could be really transformative and could be also unique to us. And so that was something that I was looking for, and I kind of lucked out.
Yeah, I guess you kind of hear those stories of, I guess, coming into undergraduate, thinking a certain way, feeling a certain way, and then those tables just suddenly flipping on you. I guess scaling back just a tiny bit, what the hell even is Runway? I guess would be another place to start. If you could tell us a little bit.
We're still a small company, but we're a research-focused company first and foremost. So we've been pioneering research in the image and video generation space for the last 5 years. We have 3 co-founders who met in graduate school, and they've been thinking about Runway and working on Runway even prior to that. So for the better part of a decade. But we create everything from, we conduct the fundamental research on image and video generation and create really systems and tools for users to be able to then leverage that technology and that research into applications that make it very easy, whether it's on your mobile app or on your on the desktop, and really transforming the way that we hopefully tell stories, so that whether you're someone who with a degree, not a degree, in the States, not in the States, you have some really powerful ways to get what you have in your head onto a phone or onto a laptop.
Yeah, no, amazing. And then obviously being in the whole kind of image and media space, we've seen a huge proliferation of that over like the last decade or so. And, as you were kind of growing up almost, a little older than us in a sense, just a little bit. I would ask you then, you mentioned earlier how you necessarily didn't see yourself in a place of the image and media space and the startup industry. So I guess coming out of college, what kind of made you take that leap? A lot of people are kind of not necessarily willing to take that step forward and take a risk when it's one of the most crucial moments of your life. So what stemmed that choice?
Didn't necessarily take the leap so I wouldn't give myself that much credit. I went straight to I did some research for a year and then I went straight to a hedge fund. So I would say a very non-startup-y type of institution, though it was a small place. Yeah. And it was really a series of coincidences. Like I said, had no context on tech or startups, but I started supporting a portfolio manager who was investing in tech companies, private tech companies. And at the time, 10 years ago, that was very novel. We didn't see public market investors investing into private markets. So we were one of the first places to do that. And that's when I became aware of tech and startups and Silicon Valley and user-centric products and services. And that really intrigued me. I really liked the idea of being at a company that was mission driven, which I know is a broad term that now every company and institution has, that was building something purposeful. That was kind of a new concept at the time too. And it seemed that they were moving really quickly. I liked that pace. And it felt like something that was really exciting. And I wanted to be closer to that. So after my time at a hedge fund, that's when I went to Airbnb. I was really fortunate to kind of, again, find myself there, stumble my way there. Was part of a new business unit that the company was releasing. So I was a part of that launch. And from there, it's kind of helped me to become more fluent in the realm of tech, which is a really broad term to describe really all different types of companies. And over the last several years, I've really realized that I wanted an opportunity to be somewhere small, take a little bit of a risk, but that didn't happen. That calculus or that decision wasn't something I kind of just stumbled upon. It was something that over several years, I was able to realize could be a really good opportunity for me. And I went to MBA at Yale, and I only joined Runway after my MBA. And I think there's all this pressure coming out of college or coming out of graduate school to know exactly what you're going to do. And that's it. That's an important decision, which it is, but that's kind of the ultimate decision. You're either going to go into consulting or go into tech or go into startups or go into academia, and that's it. And that's really not the case. And then it can feel really daunting or feel so difficult to make changes after the fact. So I feel very fortunate that I was able to land where I am now, but I'm still young. We're all young, and who knows what the future holds, but I feel really fortunate to be where I am right now. And I don't think I would have chosen this if I didn't have all of the experiences from the past.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. I guess kind of piggybacking off, something you just last mentioned, you talk about this change, after MBA at Yale. Even really before that, you're thinking, where is my life headed? I can imagine. I guess what comes with that is this kind of question of purpose. I can imagine you've battled this, a few times, a little bit more often than us, especially us being a little younger. But I guess I'd love if you could expand on how you feel about that word. Is it something prevalent right now in your life? Is it something you think about a lot? Have you seen it change from, your time at Georgetown to here in New Haven, and of course beyond?
Yes, in that I think what I was defining as purpose before has slightly shifted, and feeling really comfortable about uncertainty and and recognizing things don't always have to be a binary. I don't always have to feel that what I'm doing is the most purposeful thing ever. There's a spectrum, but there's also not a spectrum. It's a very difficult concept that I think can be different per person and at different stages of your life. And there's a lot of pressure to do something that is purposeful or to do something that is meaningful, and that is also fulfilling, both on a professional resume standpoint and then also separately. My dad has always been the wisest person I know, and he always has the right thing to say. And he has instilled in me from when I was younger to think about doing something that I was good at, not something that other people wanted to do or thought I should do or that other people were doing, but something that I felt that I could do well. I didn't have to be the best at it, but that I could both challenge myself but feel good at doing, and knowing that it wouldn't be day in and day out of me trying to do something I just wouldn't necessarily be able to accomplish. And through continuous perfection of something that you're good at, you get a lot of reward from that, which I do believe. Yeah. And so I think matching something that you feel you have, you were kind of God-given strengths in, along with a whole host of other factors. Do you like the people that you work with? Do you feel good about what the company is doing? And again, all of those things can be yes or no at any given time, and you're usually not going to get yes across all of these different factors all the time. But I think that for me, I can really only feel good about spending time on something if I feel I am contributing, which means that I should be good at what I'm doing, so I can contribute to the company or to whatever project I'm working on, and that I can also be learning at the same time. It can't just be that I've peaked and I'm just contributing and I'm the only one and that's it. I think there needs to be this kind of give and take, and then I think through this kind of combination of all of those things is how you can feel a sense of purpose. And maybe it's not a status you feel all the time, but more so than not.
Yeah. And, it's funny you mentioned, of course, finding something that you're good at. There's often this saying of finding your true purpose is an alignment of finding what you're good at, finding what you love, and ultimately finding what can change the world. And I'm just so curious, as you said, you were stepping into Runway and you saw that's something you were good at, something you could provide value to. What were kind of your early days like there? How was your experience? Did you feel like you were really contributing towards that, moving startup? You mentioned the hassle of the journey of, building a company up. And obviously that's how every startup is. So I guess in all that craziness, we're able to find that, I guess, sense of fulfillment for purpose.
Went in very eyes wide open, knowing that I was hired as the first non-technical employee at Runway. And we were very small. I was employee 7. And so I was going to be everything from kind of COO, let's say, but also to an executive assistant and an office manager. And I was going to, even though I had a technical title, I was really referring to myself as head of all things non-technical. Anything that needed to happen, I had the attitude of I'm just going to do it and I'm just going to get it done. And I really enjoyed I've been here now over 2.5 years, especially in the first 1.5 years, almost 2 years. My job shifted every 3, 4, 5 months. So I kind of dealt with what was urgent at the time. We needed to do things like payroll and insurance and benefits administration. And then once we kind of address all of the urgent things, then we could think about being more proactive and building up systems. And what's been really rewarding for me is because I've done that now across functions like people and recruiting, legal, finance, investor relations, marketing, really all aspects that are non-technical to the business, but still business crucial functions. I feel I have a really good sense of the company. And I've seen us grow now. I was 7, now we're 60, which is still small, but a lot more people than when I first joined. And being able to have had a hand in helping to scale us as Runway has been really rewarding.
Yeah, I mean, and you mentioned kind of the growth of Runway. I even think I remember in a commercial email or something, I was seeing the, waitlist signing for this new AI editing video software. So I guess in coming to see the fruition of the company and being there early, you said you're going from COO to an executive assistant, so a bunch of managerial roles at the time. I guess how did that kind of impact other parts of your life? Was it kind of rewarding to see how people would associate you with something that was becoming great? And I guess how did you react to that?
That the idea of product market fit, which I think some would argue we have found, is kind of like getting hit by a bus. You're just kind of walking along and all of a sudden it just hits you in the face, and that has been a little bit like what it's been here. No one knew who we were. Our CEO, we're actually at our company offsite this week. We have a company offsite every year, and he gives a presentation at the beginning of every offsite, and he shows emails from 2018 when they were first fundraising and when they were first talking to enterprise customers. And it's basically all just laughs in his face and no's. And it was like that for like 4 years. So, and then around August, September of last year, about a year ago, was when we really started to see this incredible excitement and adoption of AI. And but before that, it was not all that glamorous and fun and busy from an external perspective. And people didn't really understand why I had joined this company. And now everyone thinks I look like a genius. But I think that these kinds of hype cycles, because I do think that we're in a bit of a hype cycle, though there's real technology and real change that's happening, come and go. So you have to feel fortitude and centered in your decisions, regardless of what other people are saying or validating. Of course, it's exciting to be working at a company that is getting so much attention, but I think that we still have a lot of really hard work in front of us. And I think that it's if we get too distracted on the excitement of the now, we'll never really materialize all of the potential that we have. But I do think that the hardest parts are still ahead of us.
Right. And then you kind of say, this excitement, and I can imagine with AI and just the tech realm as a whole, there's a lot of excitement, especially now. But in the midst of this excitement, how does a company that's, like you said, having this impact, this impact is important. How do you guys stray away from the negative implications that might, come about? Do you see, anything, going wrong with Runway? And I guess, how would you guys combat or kind of, go against that?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot, not only for Runway, but companies around us, and all of us are ultimate users, right, of all tools that have any sort of AI technology. The onus is on us. So it's on all of us. And just like with any new technology, there can be abuse, but I think that there has to be education, again, broadly and at the user level, that encourages and lets people understand what the norms of usage are. There can only be so much protection that a platform does. Users have to use it wisely, and you have to use it in a way that doesn't harm others or isn't in a malicious way. So I think it's a bit of both. But we as a company, of course, also have our own responsibilities, and some of it is going to be reactive. We don't know how millions and millions of people are going to use Runway and what they're going to try to do with it. But we can be vigilant. We can make sure that we're trying to be as proactive as we can, having systems in place, trying to anticipate. Those are all things that we're doing. But a lot of it comes down to education. And I think that there's been a lot of narrative. People are really scared. People, I think, haven't quite yet understood how these are just really tools that can help people. And so we have to do a better job of more of that education. But I think it's an exciting time because there's still so much to happen. And I think it'll be much, much more good than bad.
Yeah, no. And everything you mentioned thus far in that journey and walking through Runway and its excitement, it's amazing. And what's the negative and positive implications? I guess I want to ask kind of back to what I said earlier. You talked about initially you didn't see yourself in the AI space as much, and you didn't really see that coming. But now, has your kind of knowledge and proficiency of the space increased? I mean, if I were to ask, where do you see the AI industry going the next few years with the crazy rave of VCs handing out money to any company that has the word AI in it? How do you kind of see that playing out? I would say with your new expertise.
I'm going to try not to predict the future too much because I'll probably get it wrong. And I think I'll get it wrong by a magnitude. As in, I think what we're going to see in the next year, 2 years, 10 years, we can't even imagine. And mainly because the rate of change in AI and because of a variety of factors, is happening quicker than we've seen with any other technology introduction in the past, which makes things can be scary for some people, but I think very exciting. I think we will continue to see more companies engaging in AI in some way, and I think it'll become more meaningful. But more broadly, there will come a point relatively soon. I don't know when that is. I don't know if that's 6 months from now or 3 years from now, but it's going to companies that have some sort of AI offering or are AI native or whatever have to show how that's bringing value to users. At the end of the day, is this valuable? Is this usable? Is this helpful? Does it save me money? Does it save me time? That, I think, has still not yet been crystallized for a lot of companies and for a lot of users. We all hear that there's this hype, but I don't know that a lot of people feel anything in their lives have changed. And once we start to see those changes and start to see which companies are helping to move the needle forward in that way, that is when I think we'll see kind of another step function of change. But I think it'll be a little noisy until then. But who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
Right. I mean, that kind of plays back to what you said about risk. I mean, you kind of knew what you were signing up for when you took that route. But I mean, to be honest, like, it seems as if, like, for us, like, it's kind of flipped, like the whole risk reward thing. Like, some people would argue saying forget law school, that's like the craziest thing ever. But, for me, like, the risk is law school. The risk is wasting 10 years of my life becoming a judge and who knows, it doesn't pan out. And so, yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems as if, our risk reward, kind of, system in our head is a little bit different than the typical undergrad or graduate.
And especially over the last decade, so many people who have been in tech or at high growth startups have seen incredible outcomes for themselves, usually on a monetary perspective. But life is very long. And trying to optimize for peaking in your 20s or early 30s, to me, sounds kind of boring. Don't you want your life to crescendo as you age? To think that you'll be the most satisfied or have the most knowledge and be able to make all of the right decisions in your 20s sounds kind of sad. What is the rest of your life going to look like? And I think just thinking about it as a continuum is important. And long timelines, the risk reward, that calculus changes every year or, whatever metric you're measuring on it. And, you never know what things could look like in the back half of your life. So I wouldn't think about it too much in that way. I think you have to make the best decision that you have in front of you at that time that makes the most sense for you. And that, I believe, things happen for a reason. If you go to law school, you'll learn. I will say lawyers have great job security. They're still making a lot of money in the AI craze, and it could lead to an opportunity in the future. You never know. You never know how things will turn.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of AI coming in, though, law could see some AI integration in the future. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, in terms of what you're mentioning, it was very interesting. You said that you wouldn't want to have kind of, I guess, your best life in your 20s, and if anything, span that out as long as possible. I guess maybe just talking to entrepreneurs, and we always have to ask this on the pod is, then I guess if someone was in a similar position to you, they maybe are coming out of college and they see this, this huge opportunity maybe for a startup such as Runway, to be the next kind of in whatever niche they want to get more into. Are you saying then that your kind of piece of advice would be rather to encourage someone to, I guess, peak early if they have the opportunity that early, or more, if anything, gain more industry experience in the sense that, or the notion that an opportunity better will come later?
The reward can only come if you do something that's high risk, or if you do something that's in tech or startups, and that if you make a different decision now, that cancels out any opportunity for risk reward in the future. That's more, I guess, of how I would frame it. I think that if you want to be a founder, you have something that you want to build, and it's now, do it now. It's the best time to start a company. But tomorrow is also the best time to start a company. And 10 years from now is also the best time to start a company. And I think the best founders will always build. It doesn't matter when they just have this burning passion and a desire to put something out into the world. And then the market will kind of determine whether it makes sense for the market at that time. That's how I feel from a founder perspective. There's never going to be a better time, and there's never going to be maybe there are worse times, but there's never going to be a better time. Yeah. And then with regards to AI, I mean, if you're not building in it, I think it's something that you maybe should be educated about, maybe learn a little bit more, figure out, is it something that you can have an opinion on that could improve your workflow day to day? What are things that you want to become more educated about on it, and then maybe go from there. But I wouldn't put too much pressure. If it is something that becomes so predominant in our day-to-day lives, we'll all be very, very expert and fluent in it. So at some point you will become an expert, whether it's now before a few other people, whether it's a little bit later, but at some point you will. That's what I think.
Right. I guess I'd love to see, like, does family use Runway, or you're talking about different levels of expertise when it comes to this new technology. Like, is mom using Runway? Or have you showed mom and dad?
Mom and dad are the number one fans of all of we do a lot of like marketing videos. Yeah. And I think all of the parents of Runway employees are our number one fans, but it's for everyone. We have folks at Fortune 10 companies using Runway, Global 2000 companies, students all over the world, Academy Award winning filmmakers, moms, dads, not moms and dads, everyone is using, I would say. That's kind of what you want. I think that for a company and a product to become really big and successful, it has to be something that, again, whether you're at Yale, whether you're, I don't know, anywhere else that you know about, you may not use it every day, but it is something that you've maybe come across. And so we still have a long way to go. But yeah, mom and dad are pretty, dad is a little bit better at it than mom.
Yeah. So it's nicheless in a sense. Would you agree? Right. Okay. So that's the goal. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. You're new. So that's a part of the
whole startup journey. Exactly.
I mean, I guess from what you've been saying so far, I could assume, but I guess firsthand, do you feel as if you've been a part of this story at Runway? No. How much?
I think we all have our contributions. Some are more evident than others. Mm-hmm. I hope that the rest of the team would feel I've contributed. But yeah, I think even doing things like this are part of being Runway. We should all be kind of ambassadors for the company, just the same way you guys are both ambassadors for Yale, clearly. I think that the school would say you guys are contributing. And so I would maybe say it in that same vein.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I mean, I talked to another Yale SOM graduate, Yav Geffitlin, about a week ago, and he kind of shared his experience with BlackRock. He actually founded BlackRock India, and so we kind of had a talk about joining and creating. And And, how does creation look if you're not maybe the first to create? And so, technically on paper, he joined the BlackRock cloth, but he ended up, building one of the most prominent, firms under BlackRock. So do you feel as if, you see yourself kind of in that same category? Maybe, you don't have the founding name for Runway, but do you still feel in a way you've created?
I think so. And I think anyone who, I'm not saying necessarily I am successful at Runway, but I think any person that has been successful in their role and is visible publicly or has helped to build or grow a company has had to build in their own way. And I think that whether you don't have to be a founder, but you're either helping to build new products, you're helping to build, companies change so much as you scale too. The DNA and the culture should stay the same. It's very hard, but hopefully it stays the same. But the ways that you interact with each other change a lot. And it can feel like building a new company within a company, or in the example that you just shared, building out an extension of a company in a new geography. That's very difficult to do. And if you want to be a large, successful company like BlackRock, you have to across all different regions. And I think in my own way, I would say that helping to basically stand up all of the functions that we have now at Runway, bringing in people to lead those and supporting them as they scale. That's been kind of my way in helping to build. And a lot of my job to date has been creating some sort of order or some sort of early playbook when there's been literally zero, and figuring out how it makes the most sense for us to do it.
Yeah, I mean, just siphoning off what you guys are saying, it's amazing how I think in any facet someone could be a founder. And, with the whole founder series, we're exploring how, in whatever regard, whatever contribution, you're ultimately founding a new thing, you're innovating something. So I guess just for future steps for yourself in terms of, Runway's continual expansion, would you ultimately be kind of, I guess, opening up maybe divisions of Runway? Do you see yourself staying there the next few years? And end of the day, I mean, would you consider yourself a founder?
I think we should all have a founder mentality. I told you that we were at our offsite this week, and Chris, our CEO, made these books for all of the employees, meditations on Runway. And one of the pages says, have a founder mentality. And so I think that is really important, especially when the team is so small. Even though this is the largest we've ever been, we're still pretty small. Yeah. And for us to move as quickly as we do, everyone has to be really bought in. And so I would like to think that I have a founder mentality. I feel like I missed your first part of your question, Nathania, but feel free to repeat it or tell me to just ignore it.
No, I mean, that's basically what I was talking about. I think just ultimately I was saying how anyone's kind of creating something is a founder their own way. And just curious about your continuing involvement with Runway, or in terms of, you being a founder, you consider the mentality.
I mean, I think you've represented well. I think. I agree. We'll put in a good word. We'll tell them we need you. Yeah. I guess I can leave you with one more question. You do see yourself as, a founder in your own sense. We do, I guess, in our own sense. But I guess, in your own personal life, do you feel like you're creating for good, or do you feel as if maybe you need to do a little bit more work?
That is a hard one. I do think that what we're building is really incredible technology and tooling and access. And that to me is really purposeful. Going back to some of what we were talking about in the beginning, I think this goes more to my mindset of I can always be doing more. I can always be doing more things outside of Runway that maybe make me feel like I'm contributing more to something good outside of just technology. But I don't, because I should, but I don't. And so I think that for me, that's a personal tension that I struggle with a lot. around doing too many things, doing not enough. And so that's something that actually I've been thinking a lot about. So that kind of hit a chord with me. But I hope that long term, I feel that everything that I'm working on is for the greater good, whatever that means for me at that time. But that is something that I would like to do more of.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of the journey we're all on, especially as Yaleys. I think it's almost heightened in a sense. This kind of like, who am I in this world? Like, what is enough and what's not? You know, when you talk about impact, and I guess we're kind of all figuring that out together. Yeah.
Right. The branding. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that. Yeah, because we are younger, so at least we know it doesn't stop. That constant thought. Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you so much, Michelle. I think we'll let you go now. I know we've held you hostage for a little bit, but hopefully it's been as enjoyable as it has been on our side.
Yeah, of course, and we'll follow up with episodes and maybe some other collaborations we can do. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, of course. If you guys are ever in New York, let us know. You guys should come by the office.
We're definitely there every other weekend, so
we'll be there soon.
Do that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're at the office on the weekend, so you guys should stop by.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Sounds good.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, Michelle.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey y'all, Sean here with a quick sign off. Thanks again for tuning into this episode. If you're a founder, entrepreneur, or world changer of any sort, be sure to check out some of our partners to accelerate your business ventures. Whether it's consultation with Inventus Law, bookkeeping and ideation with Mighty Startup, accounting or advisory with AKM Global, or even tax help with Heartbeat and Partners, YFS will continue to build and support a strong community of student founders and entrepreneurs. And with our partners, Speaker Network, will continue to grow and accelerate your ventures. Peace.